Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to talk about Cardano's price predictions for 2026, but I wanted to have a look at the circulating supply, how much is staked, and work out roughly where the price could go based on the fundamental aspects of Cardano ADA and no technical analysis. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on all this information in today's video in the comment section down below. If you enjoy this sort of content, hit the like button, subscribe. Let's waste no time. Let's see whether Cardano ADA can exceed $10. Let's go. So let's start here then on Cardano page on CoinMarketCap. So I really wanted to just do a bit of a refresher for anyone that, isn't that, I guess, FA with Cardano. The total supply of Cardano ADA is 44.99 billion ADA, max supply 45 billion ADA. Circulating supply right now is 35.81 billion ADA. And I wanted to just quickly cover that off, right? Because I've been looking at AI and I've been, doing my own research and kind of trying to figure out from a fundamental viewpoint where Cardano could be. And I wanted to start off by sort of removing some of this circulating supply, because you've got 35.81 billion ADA circulating supply, but actually there's some very long-term holders of Cardano ADA that don't seem to get shook out of the market, which means that they might not sell until much higher prices. And then we've got a big chunk of this actually staked. For those of you that aren't aware already, Cardano is probably one of the most heavily staked, altcoins out there, right? So there's a lot of really interesting stuff that we should sort of dig into. So I guess to subtract the staked ADA, we need to, a current reliable estimate of how much ADA is currently staked. According to Coinbase, 21.2 billion ADA is staked, which is around 59 to 60% of the circulating supply. Another source, 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗋, puts that at 21.7 billion ADA staked, around 60% of the circulating supply. So let's use 21.2 billion ADA as a reasonable midpoint estimate for staked ADA. So, if we basically get the circulating supply, 35.8 billion Cardano ADA, let's see if we can get that back up on the screen, right? So we've got, where is it? 35.8 billion there, right? Staked 21.2 billion. That works out at 14.6 billion Cardano ADA that would be circulating but not staked. So this is basically what I'm trying to suggest here is out of that 35 billion ADA, less than half of that is actually circulating, available on exchanges and, really up for sale. So I think that's really interesting, right? Because that is a very big amount that is staked and ultimately not really on the market. Now, I know a few of you are going to be, articulating to me in the comments that it's not locked staking, so people can sell whenever they like, right? And that is a fair assessment to make. But, again, staking would indicate that they're going to be keeping it more long-term than, having it available on an exchange ready for sale, right? So then we've got to kind of think about the long-term holders. What do, we exclude there, right? So this is a little bit trickier because long-term holders, are somewhat, a very open to interpretation kind of category, right? You've got addresses that haven't moved ADA in a long time, hodlers who are unlikely to sell, institutions and strategic reserves as well in this data. So data is, pretty scattered, not always public as well, which is something we should highlight. Some blockchain analysis firms estimate that a meaningful portion of non-staked supply is held by long-term wallet holders, which is something we should, articulate. I talked about in a previous video about $60 million worth of ADA in a non-staked big wallet, a whale wallet. So let's have a rough estimation, I guess, or an assumption, maybe 20 to 30% of the non-staked Cardano ADA is held by long-term holders that rarely trade, rarely move any ADA whatsoever. And this is an assumption. Real numbers could be much higher, they could be slightly lower depending on the horizon and the definitions. So if we took 20 to 30% of that, 14.6 billion that is, staked, you would be, looking at about 2.92 billion ADA to 4.38 billion ADA. So if we, subtract that, you're looking at, roughly 11.7 billion ADA or 10.2 billion ADA. So somewhere between 10 and 12 billion ADA might actually be what's really circulating when it comes to Cardano ADA. So again, obviously these numbers very assumptive. I'm not a financial advisor. Treat what I'm doing here as entertainment purposes only. Go away, do your own research, see whether what I'm saying is resonating with you or not. And I'm not, like I say, a financial advisor. So do your own research. Never invest more than you're willing to lose, because you do risk losing it all investing in cryptocurrency. Just so we're clear, nothing's guaranteed in crypto. So caveats that I want to kind of add: the long-term holders, the definition is subjective. Different firms define it very differently. 1 year of inactivity, 2 years, for example. Some addresses may occasionally move, some considerable amount of ADA in the long term. Staked ADA can be undelegated over time. It's not locked forever, for example. On-chain data lags, staking stats change, all that wonderful stuff. So I kind of just wanted to be quite clear on that. And then we get to the exciting part, right? At least this is my views, right? The real exciting part, right? We've got a lot to be, talking about, right? If we kind of look and consider the roadmap and everything that's going on with Cardano, right? We've got Mithril, we've got the scaling solution, we've got this article here talking about a 95-cent target. Again, this is, talking about, a lot of trading stuff here, but it's really telling us a little bit about what we should be expecting for Cardano when we kind of look at the roadmap, right? And what is on there. So we've got the scaling solutions, we've got the DeFi. Here it's talking about the total value locked in Cardano, talking about the participation in DeFi, the fact that we're going to start to see this change over time. We've got the integrations with Chainlink, the oracles for real-time market data. This is going to really help with interoperability. You're going to have Minutes Network, another project, Midnight, and the Glacier drop, the compliant privacy, which is going to enable things like healthcare, on and off chain data, your medical records, being able to mask and unmask it, bringing in business, bringing in banking firms. I mentioned in a previous video about the fact that Cardano's also introduced, real-time fraud detection and scam detection, all this sort of stuff within their blockchain. Again, to help with the banking, traditional finance companies get involved. This is a really interesting one because it talks about the historical snapshots of different projects by market cap, and I want to come on to market cap in a moment, right? And obviously we've got the total value locked here for Cardano. So on a little bit of a decline, but I think that's going to go way higher than its previous all-time highs here, because I'm expecting billions in the Cardano ecosystem, to be completely honest. But if we actually look at only 11.7 billion ADA being effectively circulating, ADA's price in 2026 would scale mostly with market cap Cardano could command, right? And here's some clear examples. So could we expect $25 billion increase? I think we could, right? That would take us to $2.14, right? Again, just really, really interesting, okay? We've got the $60 billion. This is the base case. We're talking about $5.13. Again, I think that that is really achievable. And we've got 95 billion. That's $8.12. So again, I think that's in the realms of possibility. And then you've got 120 billion. This would be a strong bull run, blue sky, barely any bumps in the road, certainly no barriers. $10.26. And then the absolute most that AI, ChatGPT puts out is $150 billion. This is a very aggressive, very blue sky world. No bumps, no hurdles, no clouds, no issues. $12.82. So if you actually looked at that across the total circulating supply, that would be like $4.17 in 2026. So a new all-time high. Again, very, very interesting stuff. Like, there is so much going on for Cardano. There's so much opportunity out there. And I think that, absolute pinnacle for me, my personal price prediction is $7. That is blue sky world, most aggressive outcome I believe is possible in 2026, 2027, wherever that peak of the bull run is. Nobody really knows. I think it's going to be sort of mid 2026, to be honest with you. But ultimately, nobody knows. Nothing's guaranteed in crypto. I thought this was just a bit of fun, something that nobody really does. Nobody really looks at the fundamental aspect of things, the access to Bitcoin liquidity, DeFi, the increased focus on stable coins, the scaling solution, bringing it in line with likes of Solana. There's just so much. The compliant privacy layer, the fraud detection system, for institutions on the mainnet for Cardano, the working with Chainlink, Oracle provider, really big stuff. I don't think people really appreciate what is happening when it comes to Cardano, and I don't think that they're ready for it. Just my opinion. Let me know if you agree, disagree in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Join us in the free educational Discord, link in the description of the video, and I will catch you in the next one.